everybody. Let's check that my audio is working. Testing. Okay, cool. I always have trouble with audio, so I like to make sure it's working. Okay. So I got my whole desk area cleaned. You might notice things have changed in the background. I will take half a second to please excuse the moving of the camera, but like I got little shelves to put my Funkos on, and I got my I got my light set up. I got everything cleaned up so it's all nice and pretty now. The last thing to do, I have a walking pad because this is a standing desk. It goes up and down, and I have a walking pad that goes underneath it, and I'm really excited about that. All right, bonus extra stream. I am still planning on streaming again on Saturday this week. I guess that's tomorrow. But I was feeling pretty good today, and I wanted to get some work done on Ghost Hunter Simulator. So here we go. I did also get my Stream Deck set back up, so I'm actually going to test that really quick and see if it works. Does it do it? Do I have to put here? Oh, there it goes. Oh my gosh, look at that. Yay! So I've set it up so I can just button press to answer questions that have really boring answers. Yeah. 18-year veteran has worked on many games. This is an indie game being developed by Kim and her husband Ryan. It's a walking sim type game where the player is a ghost hunter and travels to locations hoping to capture proof of the paranormal. It's in Unreal because that's the engine. It's what I use at work is really the answer there. Okay, so let's try this other one. Early works. Yay! Oh, that's so exciting. Ugh, I can't wait till Needlecat announces what we're working on. Again, I do just want to show this off. I've got it on my Stream Deck. Watch. Oh, it didn't do it. There it goes. I have lights now, and I can turn them on and off. My husband set up the lights, though. That wasn't me. Okay. All right. Open up my content browser. So I put my content browser on my right screen. I have two monitors, and I have the widescreen one, which is why it looks the way it does on the stream, and there's like that black section down there. I'm hoping to eventually have that set up with like little kind of what we're working on and like that kind of thing, but I'm still working on it. Still getting there. But I have my content browser over here so that it covers up my face, so I won't watch my face the whole time, and I'll try and look at the camera more. It's kind of a thing I do. Alright, so let's jump right in. Okay, so I was working on theater the last time. I was really working on the game, but I think I'm going to go back into the Mystery Shack. So if you've watched Gravity Falls, it's a cartoon. It's on Disney Plus. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's got really good, cute little storylines and stuff. But we were re-watching it recently, and I noticed I have, I did my presentation, and I have that kind of like checklist, right? And so it's like, this is how you make a game level that's in a specific IP. And part of that is like knowing what you have to include and what you can leave out. And uh, when I was building Mystery Shack originally, I didn't do my full research pass. Let me point out that I repeatedly say you should do the full research pass. And then I didn't, and look, it's caused me a ton of problems by not doing it. But when I was watching through the episodes this last time, they went to Stan's bedroom, which was not a room I had included. And it is upstairs, so we know that it's upstairs. I think this is Stan's office. And then this is the wax figure room. I should leave little signs. So one of the things that is just true about game development is people are really bad at documentation, and it's just how it is. And so one of the things that game developers will do that is let's put this in block out. One of the things that game developers will do to solve this problem is to put the text in the level, like put signs or that kind of thing in the level to literally just say, this is what this room is, this is what it is. And Unreal has these super cool things called text render actors, which do the job. So you just come down here to this little text thing, and then we can change this to wax figure room. And then it literally just puts it in there for us. And then we'll need another one in here. Oh my gosh. Where is it trying to take that? Boy, it is sure just not moving around on the gizmo like I expect it to. Alright, and then this one isn't the wax figure room. This one is the swapping carpet room. Okay, alright, so I see what is going on here. Okay. Alright. I think this is Stan's room. I think this is what I was going to use as Stan's room, but I don't think that's where it was in the show. I should do a full research pass on the show. Alright. Okay. Also, so another thing in the show, there's like a secret basement, right? And I currently have stairs, but they do have an elevator, and there's 3 floors. So it's got the main floor, and then one subfloor, and then the second subfloor for that. So I'm going to have to just like tear this apart and fix it in a bunch of different ways. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this one. Maybe I should go back to the theater. Dat ADHD life. I guess I could always go polish up stuff in Newburger House. Oh my gosh, we've been rewatching a bunch of the old Ghost Files, and Ghost Files was the show that kind of inspired this game. And boy, that landscape is just terrible. Okay. Was kind of what inspired the game, and it's been really fun going back and watching some of their older stuff and like seeing the funny shenanigans they get into. Sorry, I cleaned up my desk, and so now I'm noticing all of this little stuff that could be cleaner. Like Ghost Buddy. He can sit back there. Oop. That was my husband and I, when we go to a new city or we move to a new place, we'll do the ghost tours. And part of that is that it just helps you like learn history about the area on top of, getting to go and look around at all these cool buildings and stuff. And the one in Sacramento is actually amazing because it's all in this downtown area. And Sacramento is the capital of California, and it's actually this really cool town. But a long time ago, it would flood a lot, and so it has like this old town area where, like down by the river, like it's on the riverbanks, and it flooded a lot, and so they actually did like 3 or 4 different like things to try and fix it. So they actually diverted the part of the river to give it more place to flow somewhere else, but then they also raised the ground level. And so when they did this, they literally just kind of built a new ground level that was something like, I think it's like 12 feet above the previous ground level. And so in old Sacramento, there's literally all these tunnels underground, and you can actually go on these tours inside these tunnels, and it's wild because it's like, it would be so cool to put in a video game. But so it's literally, you're just kind of walking around on all the old streets, and you can see all these pylons that are holding like everything that's up. It's really cool. It's really neat, and I really enjoyed that tour. But that was if you did the ghost tour. And my husband paid a little extra for like it was my birthday, and so they gave us the little stuffed ghosties, which was cool. Sorry, I just got a message and I want to check it because it's from somebody who doesn't talk to me that often. Okay. Alright. Cool. Let me go back. Okay. I just wanted to make sure nobody was talking to me. Okay. Alright. So Ghost Hunter Simulator is all about exploring haunted locations, supposedly haunted locations. And so far I've been building places that I have been to in real life, that I think are creepy or haunted. And so the first place, that we built was Newburger Mansion, and I had worked there, and it was, I never saw ghosts or anything, like that was not, but it was super creepy, like just like the vibe of that place, especially when it was empty. But this is actually the theater at my high school, and it's funny because it's actually been torn down now. They completely tore down the old building and the theater and a couple other buildings and rebuilt the school, and it's very sad because it was this beautiful old like red brick, like really well made, really, beautiful design of a building. And they tore it down and they replaced it with this super boring just box, right? Like it's just that like ugly, like everything's just like straight angles. There was nothing interesting about it. And as a level designer, that kind of hurts because level design is all about flow through spaces, but also like making the spaces pretty on top of just making them functional. But my high school was actually the first place where I ever theoretically saw a ghost. I don't know if it was a ghost or not, but it was real weird. So the theater had all of this kind of weirdness about it. There was lights, there was all this kind of strange things that could happen. But one night I was helping my best friend, who was part of one of the productions that was going on at the time, and I was going to drive her home, and so I was waiting outside of the theater. And it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and no one was supposed to be there. And she was inside, like finishing turning off lights and stuff, and I'm just sitting out there, and I saw this lady walking on the other side of the courtyard towards the main building. And the funny thing about the main building was it had been renovated a couple of times, and she was walking towards what looks like an entrance, right? 100% looks like an entrance, but it's not, right? They had like filled in the doors and everything, and so the only way to get into the main building was to come into the center of the courtyard and into the central part of the building, not the end where she was at. And so I saw her and I thought, oh, that poor lady is going to go up and she's not going to know where to go because, it's not obvious, right? And so I was like, hey, the doors aren't over there. You have to go in through the middle. And, like, she didn't respond. She didn't react at all. She just kept walking towards the building. And I was just like, well, that's weird. Like, that's kind of rude. Why isn't she listening to me? So I yelled a little louder and she didn't respond. And I saw her walk up to the building. And then I don't remember why, but like I looked away and I looked back and she was gone. Like totally gone. Like she wasn't in the courtyard at all anymore. And I knew she hadn't gone in the building because there wasn't a door there. And it was really funny because my best friend Sarah, like she came out of the theater and I was like, holy shit, I think I just saw a ghost. And she was like, what? And so I told her about it. So we went over and like we looked around. We went around the edge of the building and like looked to see if there was any cars or anything. This had been maybe like 5 minutes after I saw this lady. So it was really cool. It was really weird. And I mean, it could have just been a person, but she didn't respond. So it was really strange. And like, I mean, she was dressed like relatively normally. Like she was wearing like some kind of like dress. So she didn't look like a ghost necessarily, but she didn't respond, and I'm pretty sure she walked in the building in a weird way through a wall. So as a part of that, theaters, especially like old theaters that have been renovated, because it was originally a gym, and then it got renovated to theater. That's like prime haunted locations. So I feel like it's pretty exciting to have one of those to explore. So the last time we looked at this, we built our whole seating area. You can see there's, nice big wide aisles. If you've watched my previous streams, you know that I get scale using player models. So there's our player models. So now I'm building the stage, which is this really cool. Wood stage. I don't have it working yet. I'm gonna make another little button I can use to say, if you ever have questions, feel free to ask. That's part of the point of the stream is I've been a level designer for a really long time, and there's a lot of people who, they'll ask me questions about like, well, what does it mean to be a level designer, and what is your job like, and that kind of thing. And so I started streaming. Well, honestly, I started streaming out of spite because there was this person that I know, and they are not good at their job. and they were charging poor little students like $1,000 a month to answer their questions and help them. And I was like, okay, dude, first off, you don't even know what you're talking about. But second, I can't believe you're charging. I mean, yeah, they're like 18-year-olds, but you're still charging practically children a huge amount of money, and you're going to give them bad information. And so I got really mad about that, and I started streaming. And the idea is that I can then share my knowledge. And at least, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's a lot of different ways to build levels. There's a lot of different ways to design games, and the beauty of making games is that there's no one right answer. But at least I know my answer is fairly correct, and my answer is free. So, at least I'm not, I'm not asking for $1,000 for what is probably wrong answers. One of the really quick tricks with Unreal, because Unreal is pretty much the industry standard. One of the quick tricks is that if you hold down Alt while you're moving an object, it just duplicates it. And so you can make extras of the thing you need. And I'm just making sure it's not overlapping. When we were in the Mystery Shack, you guys could see like there was Z fighting. That's whenever you see the like textures are sitting there like over each other. And we don't want Z fighting. We want things to look nice, or as nice as they can using asset pack assets. But so you want to make sure things are touching but not overlapping. Yeah. I hope people got cool games for Christmas. I got Metaphor, which I'm actually really excited about. I like Atlas games. I love Persona. Oh no, you can't see they're over there now. My Persona Funkos are over there. But I love Persona. I liked Shin Megami Tensei. I didn't like it as much as I like Persona. So I am one of those people that proves why Atlas was smart to branch out their IPs. That's pretty wide space. Yeah, okay. All right. Burp. So, and I don't mind them overhanging the edge because we're going to copy down these walls up here. And when that happens, sorry, my lips are so dry. When that happens, it'll be clipping through that wall, but you won't be able to tell. Okay, so then I actually want to grab all of these guys. Why? No selected actors to level. Oh my gosh. Completely ruined my organization almost immediately. Selectors. Yes, because they were grouped with the seats. Sorry. Hi! Yeah, happy holidays, everybody. I hope everyone had a nice holiday. I know that is not the norm for a lot of people, and that's kind of a bummer. I had a really chill holiday. It was nice. It's me and my husband and my son, and we ordered Indian food. Oh, okay, cool. All right, so I do want to go ahead and start building out my wall because it's going to be tricky. The wall is going to be tricky. So the wall ends up being tricky. Let's switch to top view. Why? Because you see like the floor slopes downwards, and that's totally how it is in real life, right? Like that's part of what makes it a really cool theater. But we don't want to have these big gaps under our thing. Now, luckily it's a video game, so it doesn't matter that it has it doesn't have realistic geometry, right? So I am going to build some of the exterior of this building. I'm going to allow the player to go out and walk around in the courtyard. But they're never going to be able to get under this, and they're never going to see this, from without having some kind of facade over it. So I can just cheat and do this. So we're going to go more. The cool thing about video games is they can often be very non-Euclidean as far as their geometry. Food limbo after visiting family for the last week. No, I'm gonna. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, I actually don't have much trouble on like Thanksgiving or Christmas of eating too much because I don't like turkey and I don't like ham. So. Oh yeah. So I tend to eat all the sides, right? So I eat potatoes and stuffing and the green beans and everything. Yeah, you have done a lot of travel recently, Cone. How's it going? Mostly low key. Yeah. Yeah, when I was growing up, my mom would always get the honey baked hams. They're the ones they do with the blowtorch. But yeah, I don't know why. I just don't like ham. I don't like turkey. I think my brain expects it to taste more like chicken, and it does not. Okay. Ooh. Yeah. So see, that looks super jank, right? Like you would never want to walk around a level like that. But the player's never going to see it from this angle, so it doesn't matter. Oh, man, I've heard bolts are really good, though. Fair. I hate car stuff. Ugh, anytime like car stuff is going crazy on my thing, I'm just like, oh. Oh, we don't want those walls. Alright, let's do this differently. Whoops. How about top instead? Okay. I'm going to make sure we don't have any of these. Okay, we don't have any of those volumes selected. So those volumes are like world volumes that are doing work. Like they're I think, yeah, some of them are for evidence system and some of them are for like lighting stuff and everything, and we don't want to copy those around. But we do want to copy around our nice janky walls we've built here. Uh, jank equals good. Sometimes jank is great. I've made the argument before that if you make your game too perfect, um, that there isn't anything for the player to rub up against. The idea being is that if it's too perfect, then they don't have any of those like moments where they feel like they're getting one over on the game, and as a result, um, it kind of ends up being slightly boring for the player. Um, nope, not that one. Okay, all right, cool. Now, look at that. Okay. I wonder why it starts getting chuggy while I'm done. Oh, but it's gone away now. Look at that. Thanks. Thanks, Unreal. No glitches for the speedrunners. It's actually funny. I've never really thought much about speedrunners, mostly because as a designer, we don't really like build things for speedrunners. But it is really interesting watching games done quick, right, and seeing the way they use and abuse systems to do their thing, right, and how cool it is watching them do that thing. Um, but yeah, it's really funny watching them just like completely use every unintentional bug for fun stuff. Okay. It's funny because I'm thinking about like how the stage lip works, and on my high school there was no lip. Like the stage just went and then was the drop off. But my college, there was actually like a little bark, like a little kind of like this little arch, and they had lights in them, so you could put lights right at the foot of the stage, which made it really cool for um, us, like doing lighting on the stage. But um, I can't imagine they were thinking about the safety issues that I was. Alright, so we want to try and get this to a mostly even scale, so let's see if 3 works. Does 3? 3 is not too stretchy, right? No, that's not too stretchy. Cool. Yeah. Well, and like, so the interesting thing is I think there's actually like a possibility where you could develop games with speedrunning in mind, right? Just thinking about the time it takes to complete certain aspects of the system. Because we always, as level designers especially, we tend to think of things in terms of time between engagement for the player, right? So how much time are they spending moving from one activity to another, right? How much time are they spending moving from one combat to another, one puzzle to another? If a player spends like 10 minutes getting somewhere, is there something valuable for them to have found there, right? And is it worth that 10 minutes? So as a level designer, I think a lot about the player's time and how to make sure I'm being respectful of it, right? And so thinking about things from a speedrunning perspective, though, is like, okay, what instead can I give? What are the tools? What are the things I can give the player that allows them to complete things faster? Or what are the levers, right? So we talk a lot about the levers as a designer that you can adjust to change the way the game feels, right? And if you think about so combat, right? So I have a gun, I'm shooting a bullet, and there's an enemy. If the bullet does 1 point of damage and the enemy has 4 health, it's 4 bullets to kill the enemy, right? So if my gun takes a second to fire and then cool down, right, that's a full second to fire and cool down, it will take a minimum of 4 seconds to kill an enemy, right? And that's assuming I don't miss, that's assuming, nothing else happens. It'll take 4 seconds. So that's combat time, right? Well then, as a speedrunner, what if I give them, so Fallout 4 had this problem where you could do a quick little thing at the beginning, and if you were just clever enough, you could get a weapon that you weren't supposed to have, right? You weren't supposed to have it for like 2/3 of the game. So now all the enemies only have 4 health, but your weapon does 400 damage. Right? So everything, instead of it taking 4 seconds to kill each thing, it takes a second, or perhaps even less, right? Because I think it was actually an AoE weapon. And so, it's really interesting, right, of seeing how speedrunners find different levers, or right, they pull those levers in a different way, and it's interesting. It's one of those really cool, like, almost side effects of gaming, and I would hesitate to try and design a game for speedrunners because it removes their ability to be clever, right? Does that make sense? It removes their ability to do the cool thing they're going to do. Although that does make me think of, I was just telling my son's 12, I was just telling him about Morrowind and how really early in Morrowind there's a quest where they have you sneak into a mage's room, and they're having you steal some item, but I'm when I play an Elder Scrolls game, I steal everything that isn't nailed down, and so I looted everything in the room, and one of the gems that just happens to be in that room that I'm pretty sure was set there for decoration, it was there for decoration, but I stole it. It's like a 60,000 gold gem, and in Morrowind you have to find the NPCs based on the amount of available gold they have to buy items from you. And so, like, I then went on this long quest to try and find the one NPC who would have 60,000 gold to be able to buy my stolen gem from me, which was when I learned about stolen items in in Morrowind. And yeah. Then I learned how to cheat, use the console to cheat to wipe that an item was stolen so I could sell my 60,000 gold gem. That was funny. Boy, I bet you speedrunners have a lot of fun with Morrowind. So I'm pretty sure there's like some spell scroll you can make really early, and it lets you like kill the final boss, which he's actually accessible from the very beginning of the game. So I think Morrowind is one of those games you can beat in like 15 minutes. Even though it's supposed to be this hundreds of hour long RPGs. Alright, I need some people, because you were talking about clipping through stuff, and it's really funny because, a lot of game developers use T-posed characters like this as scale. And it's really funny because I worked on Skylanders, and I often on the Skylanders subreddit on Reddit, and somebody actually asked me one time, they were like, what's this guy? And they posted a picture. They had like clipped through a wall, and they found one of the characters in a T-pose, like standing right outside the room. They were like, what's this about? Why is he blah, blah, blah? And I was sitting there and I was like, well, this wasn't my level, but I know what he is. They're just using him for scale. And they were so disappointed that was the answer. I felt kind of bad because they were really disappointed about it. And I was just like, I mean, it's a tool. They were just doing it. So I happen to know this stage. So if you think about it, the time I was most often on this stage was for band. So there's the conductor, and then there was let's see, there was one row like flutes and stuff, and then the next row back was like saxophones. And there was brass, and then we had drums. Okay, alright, so that's about how deep the stage was to where the final stage curtains were. So if you've never been up on a stage in a theater, and whenever I'm saying theater, I do mean like play theaters, not like movie theaters. They're different. Um, you have this space, but usually there's like multiple layers of curtains. So there'll be like the main curtain, which is the big one in front, but then there'll be like two or sometimes three or four other layers of curtains. And then you have like your back curtain, right? And that's the last one. And yeah. Yeah, it's so funny whenever they find stuff that was just the designer using it for scale or whatever. That's about how far it was to the back curtain. So I wonder if I have curtains. Let's see. Let me grab my content browser. Um, I know I have some. I don't know if they're going to be good enough for a theater curtain. Boy, there sure is nanite though, isn't there? Alright, let's see if you're gonna be helpful at all. Infinite lockpicks in Oblivion, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Oblivion was one of those games that I was so excited about coming out. I was really, I looked forward to it, right? Like I wanted Oblivion to come out so bad, and then it came out like I had pre-ordered the special edition. It came out, I installed it immediately, and I started playing, and it wasn't Morrowind. And it just wasn't Morrowind. And then I hit the point in the game where I realized the enemies were scaling with me, and I was out. Like that was, I shut the game down. I moved my save file into a different folder and I deleted the game because for me, part of those games was building up my power level to the point where I could just raffle stomp everything. And they decided that we shouldn't be able to do that, and that was not fun for me. Okay, so this would need to be like way bigger. Let's see what happens if we make this. Oh my gosh, that's not gonna work at all. Oh, that's way too big. Alright, let's see. Let's bring it back down to like 3s. Nope. Oh. I don't ever use the lock on scaling, and I've started trying to because there are people who are like, oh, it's so useful. And it just hasn't been for me. Sorry, I just kind of had the thought of like, I wonder if I could get the color changed. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Don't worry about that. Alright. I'm telling myself not to worry about that because it's your first Elder Scrolls? Yeah, that's probably fair. If you weren't expecting it to be different. Whereas like I was expecting it to be different. I think I was like 22 when Oblivion came out. I was at the guild hall, so I had started learning how to make video games. Alright. I think I'm just gonna put these along the sides for the moment. Yeah, I mean that's part of the reason I started streaming Unreal was just to like so people could come in and like ask questions, learn things about building in Unreal. And honestly the alt drag, being able to alt drag things around is probably like the most used button I have. And then the hotkeys, so you see my little gizmo there. So W is the one that lets you move things around. E is the one that lets you rotate them around. And then R is the scaling. But yeah, my last stream. My last stream was my presentation. The stream before that, December 1st, will also be on my YouTube channel that's the same name. Everything is in Berdion. But that stream is pretty much me just doing a run through of Unreal and making this level, like starting from scratch, building out this level. So it's actually really good for, brand new, you don't know anything about Unreal. It's really good for just like jumping right in and starting to build stuff. All right, and then we're going to switch back, do the lift. What if I made these all too high? Nope, that's too big. Back to one. Back to one. In my presentation, I talk a lot about level design is vibes based. This idea that it's all about, does it feel right? Not is it correct, but does it feel right? Because what is correct does not always feel correct. So there is that thing up there, but whenever you're behind the stage, it shouldn't block too much of the thing. So yeah. These might be a little further forward. Ooh. Oh, you know what? We should put them right there. Hello, Anarchy. If you hear my cat howling at me, that's Anarchy. Okay. She wants me to fix her water. Her water is currently broken. Okay. Yeah. 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 D&D is very vibes based. Hi, Anarchy. Do you wanna? Meow. Hi. Yeah. Okay, hang on though. I gotta make sure they can see you. Okay. Alright. There we go. This is Anarchy. Yeah. Yeah, Anarchy is such a good name for a cat. It sure is. And she certainly lives up to it. Yeah. 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 I mean, she's 18 now, so she's pretty chill. But her whole life she's been she's good with Anarchy. She's an old lady cat. That's why she comes and howls at me whenever, like, so she has, her water thing that's, a water fountain, and then she has, my husband feeds her wet food, and she'll come and howl at him if he hasn't put out her wet food. But she also has a litter robot. It's one of the automatic litter boxes, and we actually didn't get it for her until like 2020, so it hasn't been that long, like 4 years. But as soon as we got it, she actually, like, her personality slightly changed because she was so happy that her litter box cleaned itself every time she used it. And anytime Zorg, the litter robot, goes on strike and stops turning because, like, we need to empty it or something, she'll come and howl at us and, like, howl, 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 howl until we go and fix it because, she's like, my pooping box doesn't work. Okay, so, alright, so if that's gonna be the back of our stage, though, let's go back to top. So this is the back of the stage. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's fair. It's just so funny because, like, I have ADHD, and so I am the worst as far as remembering to, like, clean her litter box before. And I think it's funny because she used to go for, like, it would be like 2 weeks before I'd clean her litter box. And she was fine with it until she got the litter robot. And now she's like, no, it has to be clean every time I poop. I love it. I love it so much. I know, you're such a noisy kitten. Alright. Cool. Okay, so, although the last two, or the last ones on each side aren't actually there because they kind of let you, oh wait, you know what, let's, top. Yeah, because we want to center the curtains, because you want the ability to go around the sides of the back. Hey, RD! Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing a lot better than I was in November. November was a really rough month for me. It's really bad. So, December has been very rejuvenating, and recovery has been a lot of recovery. So, yeah. Yeah, I hope you're doing great. Okay. Oh, yes. Alright, kitten. Yeah, so that's the back curtain. So then there's the backstage areas, which also includes like the green room and stuff. I think I'm gonna do this. Whoop. Not the person. Oh, nice. Yeah. I don't remember if I have to go back to work next Thursday or if I get until the next Monday. I don't remember. I'll have to check. Boy, this is a big thing. So it's funny because I kind of remember there being rooms off to the sides as well. So I think I'm gonna do this. How much? Oh, so Liffy is asking, how much do I collaborate with combat designers on the level layout? Yes, a lot. I actually talk about this in the presentation I did last week. So combat designers, they do a lot of work, and they have a lot of really fiddly work, and their objective is to make enemies as cool as possible, not only so that the player has a good time destroying them, but also so that the player doesn't feel like it's cheap or unfair or whatever. And so that's a combat designer's like primary goal, is to make it feel good, make it feel like the player can do the things they want to do. If the player fails, they know why, right? All that kind of stuff. As a level designer, I'm actually like 25% of making sure that happens, right? So if you're fighting and there's a rock in the way and you know, get stuck on the rock as a player and the enemy gets a good hit in on you because you got stuck on a rock, that's my fault. That's not combat designer's fault. And that means I did my job poorly and made what they did look bad, right? Which I never want to do. I always want my level to show off the enemies to the best of their ability. So as a level designer, I will often, as soon as I find out who the combat designers are, and I'll go and I'll talk to them. I'll be like, hey, show me how combat works. Hey, show me like how big their attacks are and all that kind of stuff, so that I can make sure the levels I'm building are showing off the enemies to the best of their abilities. So like if a combat designer comes to me and they're like, hey, I built this really cool enemy. It does this really cool like chain lightning attack, right? Okay, cool. The only way we're going to see that chain lightning attack, though, is if there's stuff like lined up for it. Okay, cool. So now I'll make sure I make hallways that are just wide enough for the enemy to go in and be able to chain that lightning down. If the enemy has a giant circular meteor attack, right? I want to make sure that there's a big circular area where that meteor can come down. And even if there's only one player, I'll make sure there's destructibles there that meteor can destroy, right? So that it looks really cool, right? So like that's part of the job. I'll often say that level designers are the funnel, right? So everything that's going into the game is coming through the level designer and being put in the game by the level designer. Usually. And so like if somebody else builds a puzzle, I have to build the level that makes that puzzle work, right? God of War, the newer one, with Kratos and Atreus and everybody, that one's actually really, really good with their puzzle and their level design, which makes me think the level designers are the ones building the puzzles. But it was really funny. I was watching my husband play it, and at one point he was doing one of the axe puzzles, right? And so there you have to hit 3 things with an axe and to reveal a treasure chest, and he had hit one and he's like, man, I don't know where the other 2 are. And I was like, oh, one's gonna be turn right there. And he was like, oh my god, how did you know it was gonna be there? And I was like, because the level perfectly shows off the ability to do the puzzle, and they've done it like consistently. And so I was like, and the puzzle works this way, so the bells have to be in one of these locations. And that's where I would have put it. And that's how I said it. I was like, that's where I would have put it. And he was like, oh my god. So I thought it was really funny because he kept playing and he would get stuck. Kim, where's the thing at? Oh, it's gonna be there and there and there. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and that's a thing, as a level designer, right? Like, the player is most interacting with the stuff that you have built, right? Because you're building the world. So you want to make sure that all of the cool stuff is in the right places and it's got the right pacing, right? So you see something really cool and then you have a combat, and you see something really cool and then you have a combat, and then now there's a vista and we can see what's going on, and having all of that together and having all of that work and flow really well, that's when the level designer has done their job well, right? Like that's that's juice, that's the good stuff. All right, so I want to take this and I want to make it much more narrow. There we go. I'm not going to leave this wall here. I'm using this wall for lining things up. Okay. And then we're going to delete that wall. Yeah. I mean, that's the point of the stream. That's why we're here. It's people to ask questions. And I love talking about, working with, I mean, I've been really fortunate to have really good coworkers almost always. So like when I was working on Skylanders, The first game I worked on one of the expansion levels, and it was the switching level. So you're switching between two world states. It's the living world and the dead world. And but it was an expansion pack. So we knew for a fact, because we could see the data, that only like 15% of players had played it. And so they were like, oh, that's a real bummer, because it was such a cool level. And I was like, it was a cool level. Maybe we should do it as a main level in the second game. So we took the concept, the mechanic, and everything, and we made the Willikin level in Skylanders Giants. And it's another switching, and so you're switching between the... We went in with the objective of making it less creepy, because it was switching, in the original game, it was switching between a living world and a dead world. So there were skeletons, and it creeped out the kids a lot. So we were like, oh, let's make it less creepy. And then they gave me puppets, these like marionettes, as the characters in the Willikin level, and it was like, okay, well, we've utterly failed to make it less creepy, but okay. And so it was, but it was still switching, right? So there would be one phase where all the puppets were just like puppets, they were just toys, and then you would switch to the other phase and they'd come to life and they would talk to you and they would move around and do stuff, and it was really cool. So then, like, half a year later, they came to me, my lead came to me and he's like, hey, so we've decided, based on where your level's at in the progression of the game, it needs a boss fight at the end. Now, we had not designed the level for a boss fight. We were not planning on putting a boss fight in there. But they came to me and they said, well, we're going to put a boss fight in here. So you need to go talk to Lunaria, who was the combat designer for the bosses. And I was like, oh, Lunaria is going to be my boss designer, because I knew Lunaria was a huge fan of Ikaruga, which is a bullet hell game where you're switching light to dark, and if you're the matching color of the bullets, you don't take damage, right? So the whole objective is to get good at switching back and forth. So I went to Lunaria and I was like, hey, so I hear they're going to do a boss fight, and my only requirement is that the boss fight match the theme of the level, which is switching. And Lunaria was just like, and so that's how we got the Chompy Mage boss fight, where you're actually switching back and forth in that boss fight. Such a good boss fight. I see people talk about it on the subreddit sometimes. Yeah. No, I knew as soon as they were like, we're going to do a boss fight, and as soon as I knew they had assigned me Lunaria, I was like, we're good. It's going to be great. So good. Oh, so good. Alright. I think that's gonna be our curtains. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So fun. Yeah. Me too. That was my bread and butter on Skylanders, was the swapping stuff. I did it in 3 of the 4 Skylanders games I worked on. And it's actually really funny, when I was working on WoW, I remember having that thought of like, gosh, how can I do swapping in WoW? And there's kind of some ways you can do it, like phasing lets you do some stuff and everything, but it wasn't really easy, because you can never tell where the player is going to be in WoW. And yeah, anyway, so I was like, oh, I guess you can't really do it. Bummer, And I'm fucking playing Genshin one night, and I finally unlocked Inko which is the kind of I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but anyway, it's the underworld of Inazuma. And the whole fucking zone is a switching zone. Like, they had perfectly done it, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I think I cleared that zone in like 2 days, because I was so excited to see somebody else doing the swapping mechanic and doing it really well. Yeah, I was really happy. Okay. So I don't actually think this is wide enough. Oh, it might be. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. That was a really cool zone for me. Actually, Genshin's got quite a few of those. They've got some stuff that really just like I have those moments where I'm just like, wait, you can't do this in an open world game, and they're like, are you sure? Because we did. Just like, oh my god, they did. That's so cool. Yeah, but it's not really the same because like phasing shifts are very different, and they kind of they're not doing it for puzzles. They're doing it for changing the world. Also, anytime you do a phase shift in WoW and you're not on terrain, so if you think about if you're in WoW and you're not standing on ground, if you're instead standing on like static mesh, so like think Dalaran or Borealis or all of Zuldazar. If you're standing on a static mesh and they do a phase swap, they have to move you to an entirely different place because static mesh and phasing, the player will just zoop right through it. It's why if you ever log out on one of the boats and you log back in, you'll fall through the boat, the first floor of the boat, and you'll like land on the bottom floor of the boat. That's why. It's because it's just it static mesh doesn't respond to phasing fast enough to do it that way. Yeah. So there's a lot of bugs that come with it. Um, Gosh, uh, in Battle for Azeroth, there was a part where they wanted to swap out um, all of Borealis because Borealis is one big static mesh. The designer who was working on it was like, no. Like she was just like hard line, no. We're not doing that. Yeah, because it would have been bad. There would have been so many bugs, so many stuck players. Oh, it would have been a nightmare. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. Oh no. Oh no no. Yeah. Yeah, it is really funny though. Players will sometimes ask questions or players will make assumptions based on things in games, especially games like WoW, because WoW's been 20 years live. It was being worked on for several years before that, right? Like I think 1999 was when they first started working on Nomad, which is what the original name for WoW was. And it's like that's an eternity. That is actually an antique in terms of tech. And so that whole game is just duct tape, bubble gum, and hacks. Like it's so bad. And it's always really funny because you fix something and you're like, oh, this is just this one problem, fixed it, and then suddenly like 8 things break in a totally different part of the game, and you're like, I wasn't even, none of these systems were even connected. How? And you find out it was some variable that they just happened to be using in a couple of different places. And it was like, oh no. And so it's really funny because people make assumptions of what can be done in World of Warcraft because of other things that have been done in WoW. And it's like, ooh, but that's not always true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And oh my gosh. So like the code base is just a mess because WoW is always shipping, right? They're always shipping. So there's not really time to clean things up or so you're always just bolting new stuff on instead of cleaning old stuff up. I actually remember, I think they talked about it at BlizzCon one year when they fixed the backpack. So the backpack used to only be 16 slots, and then they added 4 extra slots if you got an authenticator. I think the guy who was working on it said whenever he finally was ready to check in, he had touched like 300,000 lines of code. Like it was like it was a ridiculous amount of stuff. Because yeah, exactly. Like it's just a nightmare. Well, cross region is a lot more about lag and and ping and stuff like that. Oh, it'd be a mess trying to play cross region. I know we actually had we have a lady, I say we. I haven't played WoW in like a year. But when I was raiding, we had a lady who's in Australia, and she would raid with us, and it was super funny because she couldn't be a healer because she didn't she wouldn't be able to do it with the ping that she had. Yeah, I actually logged into WoW today, first time in like a year, um, to get some of the anniversary stuff because I was like, oh, I should probably go pick that up before it goes away. I think it's going away in like 9 days, January 6th. Oh yeah, so yeah, 130 isn't too bad. Gosh, there was about 6 months where I was playing with like 600. Oh, that was rough. Yeah. Oh my goodness, anarchy. I know. I know.
She wants her gushy food. I'll do it.
Oh.
I've been slow.
I mean, she probably also wants me to fix her water. Nice single player game and not log on. Yeah. Alright. Okay. Then. So I was gonna say one of the things about the way I'm building right now. This is the block out, like the initial kind of. You're just getting the big rough shapes, right? So think about it in terms of a sketch, not as shippable, right? We're gonna come back and have to, change a lot of stuff and adjust things and add stuff in to make it really work well for what we're doing. But we've got to get the rough shapes down so that we can, okay, well, we're going to go to these locations and, the player's going to be able to move around this way and that kind of thing. Okay, and then do this. So this is so the game I'm working on. My husband and I are working on an indie game called Ghost Hunter Simulator. And pretty much it's what it says on the tin. You're playing a ghost hunter and you're building your social media empire by going ghost hunting and collecting evidence. One of the cool things though is that you can choose to we start the game by asking you, do you believe in ghosts? And there's a yes and a no. If you pick yes, they're ghosts. You're gonna do the ghost thing. It's gonna be great. If you select no, we're like, ghosts are nonsense. And like now the whole game becomes going to these haunted places and being like, this place isn't haunted. It was a wind. It was a wind thing, or it was a, bad electricity or whatever. So this is a theater from the high school I went to growing up that was allegedly haunted. And so the idea here is that, as a player, you could come in, and if you believed in ghosts, you could set up cameras, and you could have your little EMF thing, and like do all your ghost hunting stuff. Hey, Parati, how's it going? You could do your ghost hunting thing and collect your evidence, right? But if you're like, ghosts are nonsense, you come in and, you test a bunch of the electrical outlets. And, the electronics in this place is totally, fucked and it's terrible. Parati's been in this theater. He knows. But yeah, so, the idea being is that it's all ghosts. Places you would go and explore as a ghost hunter, right? And so this is just the theater. Or a close facsimile thereof, right? So, some places will be able to build very specific to the location, and we'll be able to build things very accurately. And then sometimes it's like, well, this place isn't going to be super happy we're putting them in a ghost game to begin with. They're probably not going to approve it, so we have to build something that's representative of it without it actually being that, but is close enough. It's the vibes. It's got the right vibes. Yeah, and I imagine this will be one of those. They would not want to be in a ghost game. How's it going though? How's it going, man? It is funny though, because like most most theaters are people claim they're haunted, so I think it's kind of funny to have a haunted theater. All right. Herky, that was the name of the ghost, wasn't it? Oh my gosh. Sorry, I totally didn't know what you were talking about, and then suddenly it clicked. No. What game is he playing? My kid got Slay the Spire in the Steam sale. Um, and so he's been playing that quite a bit. And Ember Ward, he got that one. He's been enjoying it. It's like a tower defense. Um, and then what was the other one? I'm like 90% positive my 12-year-old is trying to save the indie game industry on his own. He wants to play every indie game that's released. Okay. Gosh. Wasn't Herky like supposedly some basketball player who like committed suicide or something? Wasn't that the story? I don't even remember now. It was one of those stories where it was like, I mean, this would be verifiable. We could just go look this up. And like nobody ever did, right? Like nobody ever did the legwork to find out if it was a true story or not. But I was always like, I mean, I feel like there would be like a memorial plaque or something. Roblox? Yeah. Yeah. My kid plays a lot of Roblox. He'll come out and start talking to me about Bed Wars, and I'm just like, because like Bed Wars is, it was in Minecraft, right? Like it was a mod community game in Minecraft, and now it's in Roblox, and apparently like it has updates and like all this stuff, and I'm just like, okay. I don't even know what to do with that though. All right. I know I actually have. The theater isn't actually haunted. I'm not sure our administration would have cared enough. Our principal in high school got arrested for picking up a prostitute, and he tried to get out of it by claiming that she was a former student. Turns out she was. Did not make it better. Oh. Okay. You forgot about. I did not forget about that. Ooh, he was such a creepy principal. Okay, let's see. Because I know I have a. What? Oh, Hollywood combo. There we are. Alright, let's see what we got in our Hollywood stuff. Yeah, our school was real weird. We lived near a Navy base in a, well, I mean it was near Memphis, right? And so like there was already a lot of like racial issues on top of a lot of poverty on top of the military stuff, and it was real strange. There's been times where I start telling people stories from my high school and they get that look of horror on their face, and you suddenly realize what you thought was a normal story is not normal at all, and everybody else is like horrified at what happened. It was pretty common to have that kind of thing happen. Alright, I am going to just put some stuff around here. in some of these items helps helps you kind of see the sizes, see what's. Why does it not have wheels? That's dumb. Why would you make that? It kind of it helps you get a feel for the scale and making sure that your scale is correct. Okay, I see. Structural beam 1, structural beam 2, 3. Also, all of the asset packs that you see me using are, well, not all of them, but most of them are from a company called Daikogan. And I'm making a specific effort to say that because when they change from the marketplace to Fab, they removed the ability for you to give reviews for packs. And so I can't give them a good review for their amazing packs because Fab doesn't have that functionality. And I want to make sure people know Daikugan is such a good asset pack for doing stuff like this. They're really good video game asset packs. Okay. Alright. Nope. Okay. Let's see. Stage lights. Okay. Every time there's a Steam sale, I like give my kid like $20. I'm like, alright, you got $20 to spend. What you getting? And he'll come back out and he'll have found like 3 like very random video games to buy. And it's always really cool. I always learn about new video games that way. Pink. Alright. Wow, that is right at actually about the right thing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's actually all in blueprints. You can either do it per the item or you can do it at a level blueprint stage. So, so this little button up here allows you to open up the level blueprint, which is a good tool for prototyping. You're probably not going to ship with stuff like that, but it's good for prototyping. And you can go in here and you can say, I think it's input. I think input is the... Yeah, so so here's keyboard events, and you can literally just pick, it's going to be E because that's usually what interact is. And then, when it's pressed, you can do things. So we actually already have some stuff in our game. We call them haunted objects. Oh look, I had put one of the lights back here because I knew I was going to need it. Yeah, we have like haunted objects that the player can go up and interact with. Usually it's, doors opening, lights turning on and off, that kind of thing. Level transforms are actually a little more squirrely because usually that's a teleport, and you're going to teleport the player somewhere, or because you don't ever want to remove what the player's standing on, because the game will kind of freak out a little bit. So usually what you do if you're going to do a level transform is you'll literally have the level in 2 different places, and you just teleport the player between them. And then sometimes it's even like separate levels, and so it's actually instead of a teleport, it's a level load, and you just switch the levels. Um, uh, so if I were doing a switching level in this, I would probably have it where you have to go up to a specific like computer or something, and you like have to interact with that object. So I know exactly where the player is, and because I know that point, I can just make sure the point is replicated and where they're going, so it feels like the level just switched around them instead of them actually teleporting somewhere else. But it's really funny because you were talking earlier about speedrunners, right? And it's funny because I've seen some stuff where speedrunners are breaking that teleport in another game, and so it's really funny because you can see they break the teleport, and that's how they're doing stuff with the speed running. Sorry, my hand's itchy. Everything's itchy. Uh, it's real dry here, and so everything's itchy. Hi, Anarchy. She's back. She's back, climbing on me. Even though she did just get fed, so she could be eating right now. Instead, she's bothering me. Yeah. I am actually, so I'm a level designer, but I do also do a lot of blueprinting. So I'm what's called a scripter, um, because I can do stuff in blueprints. I can do stuff in like Lua. Um, that's my skill sets. But I can't. I'm not quite an engineer, so like I can't do stuff in like C++. So companies really like me as a level designer because I'm also kind of an implementer in other ways. Sometimes you'll have level designers that are just gray box, like they can just build stuff and that's it. They're not going to implement anything. They can write designs and then they give it to an engineer, and engineer implements it and gives it back. But I've always been a scripter, and it's funny because that's why I got the job on Skylanders. Um, so for Skylanders, TFB, they didn't have gameplay engineers for a really long time. And so all your level designers were actually implementing all of the gameplay mechanics, right? So in Skylanders, if you push a push block, like a level designer implemented that. Oh yeah. Well, blueprints is funny because I mean, if you're an engineer, if you're used to typing code, blueprints is not going to do what you want it to do. But I mean, it's all node based. So you have nodes. We could do stuff. Event begin play. It just fires whenever the level starts. Event tick is every frame, so it's like ooh, super not performant or whatever. But so this would find if something has a tag, right? And so you can use tags to identify pieces. So we use it in things are tagged as a light. So then we can find every light in the level and turn it all off at once, right? Um, let me open up one of our haunted object door. Oh, it doesn't even. Oh, well, we'll open the base. There we go. Okay, so here's a script. And this is the construction script on this item, and it runs when the item is created in the world. And so sequence splits. So we're going to do the first one, and then we're going to do the second one. We're setting its transform. Because it's doors, and it's all super. Yeah. No, I'm just kind of like running over it, and so like yeah, it's all node based. You have all these super cool little wires. I really like blueprints because in my head it makes it easier for me to follow along with what's happening, right? So anytime you're following the flow of electricity, right, is kind of how blueprints works. So yeah, I mean this is all really simple stuff. It's just setting things, and here's a you know if kind of statement. You have your branches and everything. Yeah. Yeah, I love blueprints. I like that blueprints gives me the power to build stuff. That's what I like. That's my favorite. Um, I don't think we've done anything really interesting. At work though, I do a lot in Blueprints. When I was at Lost Boys, I actually built an entire character generator in Blueprints, so you could just like go through and make a character, and it would generate out their whole file. It was like a character sheet. And then um, yeah, yeah, I scripted a lot of the Skylanders mechanics and blueprints. Whenever I was first learning how to use blueprints, that's what I did. Is I scripted up a whole bunch of things I'd already made in like other scripting languages, so that it was I knew how it was supposed to work, and I was able to like learn blueprints that way. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, I usually do this for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It has been an hour and a half. I'm kind of starting to feel a little like ooh, brain dead brained. Um, I also have to think a little bit more about how I want the rest of this to be laid out and everything. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to thank you so much, Liffy, for all your questions. It's been really nice having questions to answer. And thanks everybody who showed up and hung out. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I will probably be streaming again tomorrow. Um, I'm gonna do some research on Gravity Falls and get all my information I need for that. Yeah, yeah, and then start working on it a little bit more. Also, if you do want to see like earlier streams and earlier stuff that I've done, most of that is on YouTube. It's under the same name, um, and I'm generally on Blue Sky. That's my social media of choice, and we do talk a lot about Ghost Hunter Simulator, just because my husband and I are working on it, and it's our indie game. It's also going to be releasing this next year, so fingers crossed we can get all our stuff done and in for it. But yeah, have a great weekend, everybody.